Why Randy Orton needs to face Nick Aldis at WrestleMania 41. WWE fans were taken by surprise when Kevin Owens came out and announced that he had to undergo neck surgery, thus missing WrestleMania 41. It's not uncommon for wrestlers to fight through the pain, but it must have been bad enough that he had to be pulled from the WrestleMania card. It was devastating because WWE fans know how much Kevin Owens puts into his wrestling and just how much he sacrifices his body. One of the side effects of this is that Randy freaking Orton is left without a WrestleMania match. But in the process, did WWE subtly tease a showdown between him and SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis? Here's why WWE needs to have Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis at WrestleMania 41. For those WWE fans who aren't aware, Nick Aldis isn't some random ex-wrestler turned general manager. He's a highly accomplished, multi-time world champion throughout different promotions. He has nearly 20 years of experience under his belt, and it seemed like when WWE signed him, it was for his in-ring talents. Some were surprised when he was announced as a SmackDown general manager, but then the logic became clear. Since the wider WWE fan base had no idea who he was, it was best to have him introduced organically to the world before making that transition. But for some reason, that transition never happened. Despite Aldis having experience at some of the highest levels of wrestling in TNA, NWA, and even stints in Japan, WWE didn't seem to be in any rush to get him in the ring. With Kevin Owens' injury and Randy Orton in need of an opponent, this may have been the perfect way to introduce Aldis, the wrestler, to the WWE universe. The RKO that Randy Orton hit on Nick Aldis wasn't the first, and it likely won't be the last. While some hope that Randy Orton would have an open challenge at WrestleMania leading to Aleister Black returning, this just makes a lot more sense. The best part of it is that Nick Aldis doesn't even have to win. He just has to have a good and impressive showing to prove that he belongs. Since Backlash is in St. Louis, Missouri, we're all thinking the same thing. That Cena wins number 17 at WrestleMania, and Randy Orton challenges him in their last match ever at Backlash. To set that up, we can have the closest thing we've seen to the AJ Styles-Shane McMahon rivalry in 2017. The difference between Shane and Aldis is that Aldis has extensive experience over the years. It isn't even a knock on Shane because that match was great, but this story just tells itself. Let's look at an alternative scenario, for example, where Nick Aldis gets someone to do the fighting for him at WrestleMania. Sure, it would lead to a good return pop, but would Randy Orton versus Aleister Black really be as hot as an angle between Orton and the SmackDown general manager? Getting Aleister Black in the mix would lead to a good pop at the moment, but there's no real story or depth behind it other than a one-off. And let's say Aleister Black or Rusev does come back on behalf of Nick Aldis. What are you gonna do? Have them lose in their first match back? Randy Orton was quite likely to beat Kevin Owens at WrestleMania anyway, so it makes a lot more sense for him to face an already established regular on television like Nick Aldis. There's always a novelty about storylines when an on-screen non-wrestler figure finally turns into a wrestler again. Although it isn't widely remembered, the 2017 angle where Austin Aries went from commentator to cruiserweight title challenger was great. When Cody Rhodes came back as the WrestleMania surprise 3 years ago, it was under completely different circumstances. Right now, what WrestleMania needs is a good and exciting story. Although there are only really 2 episodes of SmackDown as of this video to build to it, this is a far more effective way to get hype around Randy Orton's WrestleMania match. Besides, when Nick Aldis had his start as the SmackDown GM, he received an RKO, and Randy Orton had to pay a $50,000 fine for it. When Aldis got a check for $100,000, Randy Orton told him that the extra $50,000 was for the next time it happened. The next time has officially happened, and it ties in a lot better than the story of Orton having to face a random opponent. Not to mention, the WWE roster could use someone like Nick Aldis for a boost. It's never a good idea to have the main event scene dominated by only veterans, and it's also equally unwise to have it dominated by young and up-and-comers. Aldis has earned his chance to wrestle and show the wider WWE audience what he's capable of. In doing so, WWE can also quickly establish an upper-tier main eventer superstar who can serve as a transitional main eventer as the company builds younger superstars like Braun Breaker and Dominic Mysterio. If that isn't enough to convince you why it's finally time for WWE to give Aldis a chance, then nothing else will. He's done a great job as a SmackDown general manager, but with figures like himself and Adam Pearce and the role they play, there's only so far you can go before hitting a ceiling. We're not saying that Aldis is guaranteed to be one of WWE's most popular stars, but he certainly has the experience and age to perfectly fit into a top role. Do you think that Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis is the right direction? Or would you rather see the Viper Randy Orton face a returning superstar at WrestleMania 41? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.